Morning, boys. The old man here. Uh, Smoking a little Savinelli. Paul that you've seen before. Got a little bit of Orlick tobacco in here. Very good. Also, I got a little Old Man Copper Mountain Pine Mustache Wax and Beard Balm in. I know there's something about these cool mornings in Florida where, I don't know, I want to put some mountain pine in. We got plenty of pines in Florida, but I don't know, there's something about the pines up in North Georgia that I really like. Well, I wanted to talk to you guys today about I want to do kind of a series, but it's maybe I'll put them together, but on some calls during my time as a fireman that really kind of got me. What's funny is I never really had much of an issue with Gore calls, and I can tell you why. I think I had training for them, if you will. So when I was a child, and actually my whole life, my dad's a doctor, surgeon. And when I was young, he, really young, I'm talking like 8, 9, 10, he'd be having a party at the house or something, or just kind of screwing around on a day off or whatever. He'd be on call, and he'd get his beeper would go off because that's what they used back then. And he'd look at me, say, "Hey," he would literally go. He'd call me Chrissy. "Hey, Chrissy, you want to go see some shit?" Absolutely, Pop, I'm in. So I'd go to the emergency room with him, and I'd watch him do all kinds of stuff. And it was different back then. We're talking about the 70s and early 80s. I mean, he could pull me along anywhere I want. I mean, I've been on, a little older when I got in my teens. I, would go into surgeries and watch my dad do surgeries. And then when I got out of college, I briefly worked for an orthopedic firm, Johnson & Johnson, actually selling orthopedic implants. So total hips and total knees. So I would have to go in with surgeries on those. So by the time I got to the fire service, seeing, gross stuff and blood and guts, really, it wasn't a big deal for me. But what got me was emotional things, right? So let me tell you about something. It was right towards the end of my career on the fire trucks, because I had to move over to investigations and inspections after I blew my knees out. But right near Christmas, and we get called out to a welfare check in this little townhome society, right? Little townhome neighborhood. And we get there, and I can't remember if we had to force the door or if the apartment manager let us in. I can't remember that, but I guess that really doesn't matter. But anyhow, we get in, and we find the girl, and this is a young woman, probably in her early 30s. And she's deceased. Hadn't been too long, because there wasn't riggers yet, and there really wasn't any kind of smell, so it wasn't too long. I think she had some pooling, stuff like that. But anyhow, so we go, okay, well, who do we have to make notification to? And of course we got to call police, because anytime there's a death, they have to do an investigation. That's their procedure. And so we make our notifications to the ME, all that stuff. And as we're doing this, Mom shows up. And yeah, man, that was, well, I'll tell you what happened. She comes in, and she was probably the one that requested the welfare check. I can't remember. But she comes in, and I didn't have to stop her or anything, but I stood in front of her and told her, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, that your daughter's deceased. And she was, deceased when we got here, and we've done all of our checks and we've confirmed it. And rightfully so, she was extremely upset. And she went from, kind of a nod and a little bit of a whimper to this is kind of craziness of running around the apartment and with this can't be happening. I just talked to her, and yelling, and kind of, then she'd stop and get really calm, and then she said something that really just knocked me to the floor. Her other daughter had died recently. And I don't know how I didn't ask. But it wasn't, like she said, recently. So she had 2 daughters that had died in a short amount of time. And I don't know if that was her only family or not. But, and this was, like I think I said, right, I think it might have even been Christmas Eve. It was very close to Christmas, right before it. I know it wasn't on it, but it was right before it. And, I had to kind of sit there and watch. There wasn't, what are you going to do? And, the men and women that have had to do this understand that's not something pleasant. So that was it. We had the police show up, and when the police showed up, I believe they had a link to a grief counselor. So we wrapped up our stuff and bid her adieu. And I think that drive back to the fire station, which really wasn't very long, I don't think we said a thing to each other. I didn't, I really didn't feel like talking, and it was in the morning, so we had the rest of the day to deal with it. But those were the type of things that hit me pretty hard. The blood and guts. I've got some calls to talk, and like I said, I'm going to share some stuff about some of my calls and that. But the blood and guts, I can take it or leave that stuff. It doesn't bother me a bit. But that call, it's one of about 6, maybe, and I'll talk about them here eventually, that got me. But one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit, of course, mental health is extremely important in the fire service and any first responder military type thing. We deal with a lot of things. They say most people deal with 1 or 2 traumas in their entire life, where we have maybe seen, 100 by that time. So I think the one thing that does help me deal with it, there's many, but there's one that really really kind of drives me through, and I hope that you can take something from this statement. If you take this job, you have to accept that you're going to be in these situations. For me, I'm not speaking for you, but I'm speaking for me. Acceptance of situations and realizing this is what I signed up for helped me out a lot. You put yourself in harm's way. To be really kind of raw about it. I don't know what to tell you, boys. Now again, this isn't a poo-poo on if you're feeling bad. This isn't a poo-poo on therapy or anything. It's just, and I've done those things. This is something that helped me get over it. Just acceptance. And, I don't really talk about it a whole lot. I don't know. For me, the revisiting this constantly, like a lot of people, again, if that's your way to do it, that's your way to do it. I will say though, sharing this today has kind of been kind of nice, nice as far as feel better talking about it, but I don't really talk about a lot of that stuff. It's gone. It's in the past. Anyhow, if you got anything out of this today, boys, head on over to oldmancopper.com. Get yourself some wax goods, a hat, a shirt. Keep me going on this venture. You guys have a great day. See ya.